Nowadays, most people believe that using cell phones or computers is the main tool to catch cheaters. But that's hardly the truth for two simple reasons. First, because all skilled cheaters know how to avoid leaving electronic clues on such items, and for the second reason, an average husband or wife usually doesn't suspect his or her spouse of cheating, and therefore they never have any reason to search for non-existing evidence. I know that for sure because I have been one of those slightly naive cuckolds who thought that my pretty wife Lisa would never cheat me. But the cruel truth is that I was totally wrong and must have been living with some kind of blinders on my head because I never saw or suspected the slightest sign that we had such problems in our marriage. I am Bo Eklund, a 39-year-old guy from Scandinavia, working in planning and administration at the leading local construction company in our area. Lisa is 37 and works in accounting at a machine-making plant. We married 13 years ago and have a 9-year-old son and a daughter of 7. Until that terrible Friday when a simple coincidence turned everything into a total mess, I, the silly jackass, had thought that Lisa and I had a good marriage. My problems began on the previous Saturday when I had to spend a few hours at my job fixing some urgent problems and took the whole next Friday off from the job as overtime compensation. Of course, Lisa had given me a long list of honey-do chores to keep me busy that day. But after the kids left for school, I skipped her list and decided it was a better idea to clean the house since we had invited 2 families over for dinner that evening. After vacuuming the living room, I decided to clean the mirrors in my cocktail cabinet so it would make a good impression on our friends that evening. It usually contained 8 bottles of malt whiskey from different distillers in Scotland and 6 crystal whiskey glasses. To my great surprise, I could see that one of the glasses was used, whereas it hadn't been the day before yesterday when I had replaced a burned-out light bulb in there. That was a mystery because I never left dirty glasses in that cabinet, so it was obvious that somebody must been in my house and drinking my whiskey yesterday. Lisa and I left at the same time in the morning and I was home before her, so somebody must have been drinking that whiskey during the daytime when both of us were at work. But nobody breaks into a house to drink a glass of whiskey, so there had to be some other explanation. First, I checked the doors, windows, and locks for break-in marks, then all our valuables. But nothing strange was visible and nothing was missing. The next thought was that Lisa had been at home for a short stop together with somebody. But it was strange that she hadn't mentioned that to me. Unless, of course, I wasn't supposed to know anything about it. Not supposed to know hit me like lightning. So I went into the bedroom to check for clues, but couldn't find anything in there. The next step was searching the spare room, where I was surprised to find that the pillow and sheets on the bed were slightly used. That was really strange, because it had been many months since Lisa's sister slept 2 nights there. A very close examination gave me a couple of dark brown, long brown hairs on the pillow and a small dried spot of something in the middle of the sheet. I replaced the used sheet and pillowcase, cut out the spot from the used one, and threw the remainder of the sheet in a garbage bag. When I grabbed my magnifying glass to compare the hair from the spare room with a hair from Lisa's hairbrush, there was no doubt they were equal. Lisa's sister is blonde, so it couldn't have been her hair. It was clear that somebody had had sex in that bed yesterday, and with Lisa's hair on that pillow, it was obvious that she had been involved in it. Because of her gym time last evening, she hadn't had a chance to fix the bed without making me suspicious. But I don't think she was too worried about that because I never checked anything in the spare room. If it hadn't been for that dirty glass, I would still have been a happy husband. Lisa had never left a dirty glass in that place. So it was obvious that the lover boy had taken that whiskey without her knowledge while waiting for Lisa. Of course, there was no way for me to pretend that everything was as usual and have dinner with our friends. So I made 2 phone calls to some very surprised friends canceling the dinner. After that, I wrote a message to Lisa and left it on the kitchen table. Lisa, due to our very serious problem, I've canceled the dinner with our friends and will be away for some time. Bo. Not much information either about the problem or where I had gone or for how long. But Lisa wasn't stupid and might get some clue, at least when she found a clean sheet on the spare room bed. Then I booked a room at a popular hotel on the Baltic coast, packed a suitcase with some clothes and my laptop, laid it in my car, locked the house, switched off my cell phone, and drove away. At the hotel, I spent some time at the gym and the pool before having dinner and spending a few hours at the bar. I switched on my cell phone only long enough to download Lisa's voice and text messages. She had sent me 4 voice messages and 2 text messages asking me to contact her as soon as possible. Not a word about being sorry or pretending to understand why I had left, so there was no reason for me to call her back. Most of the daytime Saturday was spent in the hotel's gym and spa. After dinner, a few hours were lost at the bar, but I was not in any mood for love with a rather handsome lady who was obviously working and made her offer for business reasons. On Sunday, it was about 6:00 p.m. before I was home again. As I was coming in, Lisa shouted, "Where in the hell have you been?" as soon as she saw me. "Who is he?" I replied without raising my voice. "Who what?" she shouted back. "The damn creep you brought to this house on Thursday for drinking my whiskey and lovemaking with you in the spare bedroom." Now she calmed down before asking, "How can you imagine any nonsense like that?" "He left a dirty glass in my whiskey cabinet and his sperm on the sheet in our spare bedroom, and you left hair on the pillow. If you refuse to tell me, I'll get the main suspect's DNA tested by one way or another, so you better tell me now who he is, in order to save some of your innocent fellow workers from a lot of humiliation." "You can't demand that innocent people give you samples of their DNA and think they will accept to do that," she said. "I can't. But I'm sure some of my friends can. And all of the innocent guys will be happy to cooperate with my friends rather than resist their friendly request. It's your problem what happens to the cheater if he is stupid enough to disobey." Now she got ashen gray in her face and shouted, "Oh, good Lord, you can't let those hooligans harass innocent people." As I said, it is up to you. Some of my friends from childhood spent in one of the worst areas in our town, usually spending half of their time behind bars, and they didn't care much about that because it was far better for them than to be unemployed on the outside. Lisa knew that it would be a piece of cake for them to do that little favor for me. She said, "It was only an innocent one-time fling with Jerry Harrison that will never happen again. Please forgive me, let me explain, and you don't need to overreact." "No reason for any overreacting. The only thing I intend to do is strangle that damn asshole." She screamed at me to stop and come back as I went out, took my car, and drove away. It took me about 10 minutes to reach Jerry's house, but Lisa had called him with a warning about my intentions. Jerry's rather gorgeous wife, Veronica, was at home and told me that Jerry had received a phone call and had rushed out in a hurry. When I told her the reason for my visit, she said, "Thanks for the useful information, and if you have any evidence, then Jerry will be out of this house tomorrow. And there won't be any problems with that because this house is my private property." Lisa confessed what Jerry and she did. "I even have DNA from the spot on the sheet. Just give me something with Jerry's DNA and I'll send it for testing. I'm sure that it was Lisa's call that got him running away to avoid my wrath," I replied. Veronica gave me a used hanky from the laundry basket and said it was Jerry's. She even promised to keep me updated about what happened between her and Jerry. The next day, a Monday, I went to the court office for divorce papers, filled in the details, signed them, and asked Lisa to sign. But she refused to do that and began to cry hysterically. Later that evening, I got a call from Veronica. She told me that Jerry had been thrown out from her house after confessing his cheating. A well-built co-worker of hers had moved in to prevent Jerry from trying any tricks or attempts at coming back. Lisa didn't get any happier when I told her that Jerry was a free man and she could join him the next day if she wanted. Instead, she began crying again and begged me to forgive her for what she called a very much regretted one-time stupidity. I began to think about that but wanted to have some matters cleared up before forgiving her. So I took a long walk to think about my problems. During the walk, Veronica called me and asked if I could do her a favor that sounded strange to me but was obviously very important to her. 2 days later, I got a very interesting phone call and an audio file to my smartphone that made me skip all intentions about getting back together with Lisa in the future. In the audio file, Jerry Harrison confessed that he had slept with Lisa Eklund about 5 to 6 times at different places, but last Thursday was the first time in her house. The first time had been at the Christmas party at their job. The second time had been at a seminar when a Joel Nilsson had joined them for an all-night-long three-way. After that, it had been only Lisa and him at different places. When Jerry was told he could remain in his present job, but that his wife wanted him to be living in the next town 35 kilometers away, he accepted. My friends told me that it hadn't taken more than a few seconds with a taser to get Jerry to cooperate in all the suggested matters. First, I called Veronica with the news about her long-time cheating spouse. After that, it was Lisa's turn to listen to Jerry's confession. That got her to sign the divorce papers without any further arguing or explanations as to why she did what she did. Although the divorce was expected to be a real hell that would hurt our innocent children, I could not find any other alternatives. It didn't matter how much I had loved and still loved Lisa. Her long-time cheating and lies were too heavy a burden for me. 6 months later, I still feel like a pile of crap and my life has remained a mess. I bought our house out from Lisa after taking a new loan at the bank. That, together with paying all those expenses with only one salary, had a terrible effect on my economy. Although almost all the people involved in Lisa's cheating are losers in one way or another, I'm still feeling like the main loser. Jerry did exactly as he was told, and bought a cheap house in the next town where he lives together with a divorced woman he met on some websites. He is still accusing Lisa for his downfall. Even though they still work at their old jobs, they ended their relationship and hardly speak with each other. Even Joel Nilsson is a poor loser, though he is still married. But after I told his wife about his three-way with Lisa and Jerry, she gave him a simple choice: bug off or accept some new conditions. He accepted and is now a laughingstock whose wife is sleeping with her boss at least one night a week, usually at his apartment, but sometimes even in Joel's bed. Joel is said to be sleeping in the spare room or at a cheap hotel many nights. Joel's wife has even gotten a promotion at her job and a company car, so she is a winner who doesn't do the deeds for nothing. Even Jerry's ex-wife, Veronica, is a winner because that handsome co-worker never left her house, and I'm even invited to their wedding. Veronica says that she has fixed me up with a great date for her wedding, but I don't expect it to be anything serious. It was Veronica who wanted to get rid of Jerry from our town and asked me if I could find some way of persuading him to move out. I did, and she paid my friends very well for that favor, which also gave me very useful information about Lisa and Jerry. Lisa ended up living together with Tony Holm in his 2-room apartment. Thus, she couldn't have our children every second week, as agreed in our shared custody settlement. Tony is a divorced, extremely jealous wife abuser, which is why several of Lisa's friends and I warned her about him. But she didn't listen to us. Nothing happened until Lisa received her money from our house and refused to give it to Tony. He had almost completed the purchase of a new BMW. He got really mad and made the serious mistake of beating Lisa severely in front of our children. Although I dumped Lisa for her cheating, she is still my children's mother, so anybody who is stupid enough to hurt her will not remain unpunished. That's the reason why Tony was taken to the hospital with a broken collarbone and a broken leg, and also with an injured knee. And then he returned in the wheelchair that would be his for several weeks into the future. While her tormentor was in the hospital, Lisa had moved from out his apartment and bought her own in a much better area. Though she and I are far from friends, we are now at least on speaking terms about our children, and I'm sure she's telling the truth when she says that she regrets her cheating like hell. What surprised me a lot was how quickly Veronica and Joel Nilsson's wife got new boyfriends. I do believe that Lisa wasn't the only cheating wife in this mess. One of my best friends is convinced that Jerry and Joel slept with Lisa as some kind of revenge because they suspected their own wives of cheating. Who knows? If he's right, I'm the only innocent victim among all the involved adults in this mess. How fair is that? And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.